rented a bike and looked down for 3 seconds to find the rear shock just to switch it, and ended up hitting some drop off that I didn't even see. And still don't remember 7 hours of that day. And woke up in the hospital, broken wrist. So the last year and a half has been quite a challenge in terms of business and life, and the amount of appointments and health spending account increases for us, from chiro to acupuncture to I just finished what are they called, neurotherapy something. Anyways, but it's definitely been a ride in terms of getting back to what I could be, but concussions are no joke.
Hey gang, pardon the quick interruption. Russell from the future coming to you. As we were editing this video, I do realize that this was filmed in 2024. As you're going through this wonderful interview with myself and Jared Chamberlain, as we dove headfirst into the Calgary market, just take it with a little bit of grain of salt that some of the information, some of the statistics, some of the in-depth analysis we did on the Calgary market, depending on when you're watching this, might be a bit dated. But that does not take anything away from the incredible amount of information that Jared and I shared. So you're going to thoroughly love this video. So with all further ado, let's just get right into it. Jared Chamberlain, how are you today, my friend? Great to see you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I'm excited to take this time with you right now.
Yeah, Jared. So we've been bouncing back and forth trying to lock this up, and we've been fans from afar. We'll go way back. We go way back. We go back into the Stone Ages of real estate. Back in the day when, if I say, sign here, press hard, bottom copy's yours, you'll understand that reference, won't you?
I mean, it is funny. This is our 20th year in real estate in terms of being an agent and selling and stuff and doing that part of it. But I remember sitting going at 2 a.m. in the morning and getting people's signatures, right? And going to a dark alley and ripping and everyone's coffee. And I'm so glad those.
The old days when you would sign a contract on the hood of the F-150 truck or the car that you're doing, we should bring those back.
I felt like a drug dealer. Honestly. It felt so sketchy.
Yeah. And nowadays it's people are sitting there on their mobile device and hitting on DocuSign, hitting sign here. And they just spent $1 million.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, that's Calgary now. I mean, in Edmonton, it's still something different, but it's interesting for sure.
Well, first and foremost, just wanted to welcome you to the show. And you and I were chatting off air, and I'm going, geez, we should actually hit the record button here because we're having these wonderful conversations and catching up. But where I wanted to just kind of enter in, and this is 100% a conversation. So if everybody's listening to this, this is just two colleagues that are catching up after a while, and we're just kind of seeing what's up and what's going on. And but you had a little incident a little while ago. I was on your Facebook page, and you were talking about concussion protocols and all that kind of stuff that you were going through. What's going on with you right now?
So Dan's dad over here decided to go mountain biking in Whistler when there's a dance competition. And honestly, actually, it was because I rented a bike. It wasn't because I brought my own. We were supposed to drive out, bring my own bike. We were going to do this whole thing. And I rented a bike and looked down for 3 seconds to find the rear shock just to switch it, and ended up hitting some drop off that I didn't even see. And still don't remember 7 hours of that day. And woke up in the hospital, broken wrist. So the last year and a half has been quite a challenge in terms of business and life, and the amount of appointments and health spending account increases for us, from chiro to acupuncture to I just finished what are they called, neurotherapy something. Anyways, but it's definitely been a ride in terms of getting back to what I could be, but concussions are no joke after having one. So,
well, I that sucks. First and foremost, I'm glad you're better.
Yes.
My joking side of me was about to say, well, welcome to British Columbia, right?
Yeah,
So
that's right. I know.
bring
Go off.
bring cash. BC stands for bring cash, lose brain cells.
That's right. Yeah. That's Whistler for sure.
Yeah. Well, actually, that makes sense. BC brain cell. Oh, there you go. I actually hang on. I might have to hang on. I need to
write that down.
I need to get the trombone going on or something. There we go. That's right. Hang on.
Yeah, you can pin it up on your board behind you somewhere.
That's right. Okay. So think. How are you doing though? Are you okay?
That's a big question. It's after doing the neurofeedback. That's what I just finished. They actually literally put electrodes on your head and to kind of add waves that are missing and remove stuff that's going too high. And this week has been a wild week in our business with lots of things that are happening. And this is the first time I've been able to go through things and not have headaches. So it's yeah. And I've also become a carnivore eater as well over the last 30 days.
You're starting
no carbs, no sugar,
all meat diet kind of thing.
Yeah, because I just needed to change the environment that my head was in to allow it to keep going. So it's been quite a journey. Maybe I'll start a new YouTube channel just on all of that. But
maybe
we'll see. Maybe.
So
something there, maybe.
Yeah. So just as interesting as I 100% agree. Is your brain health in whether physical trauma or chemical trauma is another way too, is the chemicals that go to your brain. I'm very familiar with a lot of that from time to time of dealing with some things that we all suffer in quiet quite a bit, a lot of things, but that is really no laughing matter about our brain health, isn't there?
No, it's true. And it was interesting. And I think the thing that's really confusing for people who haven't gone through it or haven't been with you through it is physically, you look great, right? Like physically, people are just like, you look fantastic. You must be fine. And it's like, well, no, but it's been a lot. So it's kind of an interesting thing to navigate with others because they expect you to act a certain way, maybe how they knew you before, but things are different now, right? And so it's definitely something different.
Well, and good for you. Sorry, go ahead, Jared.
Yeah. Have you ever experienced anything? Have you ever had concussions or anything like that?
I probably as a youth that played in as much sports as I did, and had a kid growing up in the prairies where you just went out and played all day long and falling off the playground and just stuff like that.
Keep going. Yeah.
Way back in the day, we also, you'd play hockey and you'd come up and you'd get your bell rung. Like you said, it's the thing you got hit so hard that the snot from your nose went flying at the other side. You just got up and just, dust yourself off and just kept going, right? So
Totally. Well, and one thing that, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but even those who haven't gone through this, my chiropractor, he does a cranial adjustment. And this has been something huge where he just makes sure all the brain or all the skeleton moving with your breath. And I get that adjust now just because it's, those things are so valuable. Even he said, even if like my daughters are huge into dance. And so even if you have been, I think I'm back now. Yeah.
So sorry, Jared. We just had a little couple technical difficulties. It's funny. It's like I make the joke every time, and it's not a joke anymore. It's every person I talk to from Calgary has internet challenges because it's all those extra 200,000 people that have come to town, and everybody's sucking the same internet pipe from the same pipeline, if you will.
Not a joke. Not a joke.
So good. And how's the prognosis going forward? And before you answer that, I want to give you and maybe I'm just been quite sensitive to this because I've watched a couple documentaries on Netflix of late about opioids and addictions and stuff like that, and pain and things like that. And I just wanted to give you props for not maybe going down that road of because a lot of people could get, I would imagine, addicted to some pain medication too.
Yeah. It was very intentional to not take anything. Like it was like, I don't feel like I have an addictive personality that way. But I didn't even want to try. It was more of how do we let the body heal, and that's actually a big part of changing in the diet too, right? To allow your body to create the right atmosphere to heal and come back from what it was. So it's been a journey.
Yeah, I commend you. Like I remember once when I was passing a kidney stone and they prescribed me an oxy. And I remember after having one of those and after it was done, I was sitting there and I go, oh my God, I never want to have another one of those things again. Like that was just, it scared me. Like the one, just having just one. And I was just like, geez, Louise, that's some ridiculous stuff.
Yeah. And the fact that they just hand it out.
Yeah.
It's like, go take, you'll be fine.
Yeah, you're passing a kidney stone. Oh, here's a diuretic and here's some OxyContin, a prescription for Oxy. I go, oh, okay, you just take it. And then I remember I was in Toronto and I was flying back home and I was sitting on the airplane and I'm sitting there going, I was literally drooling. I could not. I had no function. I couldn't even just. It's like, man, those things instantly went in the garbage.
Yeah, well, that was kind of the experience coming home from Vancouver because. Like we were in Whistler, so my wife had to drive back to Vancouver and basically wheel me in because like you're on pain meds and getting onto the plane. I actually don't really remember the plane, but I remember getting wheeled like in a wheelchair. And the guy that was helping us at the airport, I swear he was high out of his tree. And Rebecca was just like, get out of here, I'll do it myself. Like I remember those things. It was just like. I don't want to do that again.
Yeah. So anyway, prognosis is good though. Things are looking up, if you will.
Better.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I would imagine that put some pressure on the business and would have put up some pressure on your lovely wife, Rebecca, correct?
Rebecca.
Yeah. Would have put some pressure on them, right?
Yeah, and the family and everything. Like it put pressure on it, but it's been really cool to see what's coming out on the other side too, because when you allow yourself to lean in and have people who are around you that believe in what's happening and what they want to do, and also lean in, and it also may have brought a lot of clarity of what I'm really good at and what is the least that I need to do to be able to keep things moving forward, and how am I contributing to that as part of the whole business. And it's there's a lot of good things that have come out of it, like our YouTube stuff, like that started really kind of was a big push about a year before the accident, and I only missed I think 3 weeks or 2 weeks of videos, and that happened in July, and I had videos out end of August, even though I don't even remember shooting that. But I was just like, you know what, this is the one thing that I need to focus on and put all my energy into, because that's going to help, bring people to our team that we can connect with and help with and buy and sell and figure this out. And so you have to look at that side of it too. There's a lot of good things.
No, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, we're definitely going to get into that. That's something I have on my agenda here to chat with you, is about your YouTube and things like that too. Is you're just crushing it. You really are. You guys are doing an amazing job with it. And honest to goodness, when I sit there and I barely scratch the surface, and you probably look at your business and you're barely scratching the surface, and it's like feels like it. It really is such an untapped opportunity. But on the flip side, it is a tremendous amount of hard lifting before you actually see anything. Like you will legitimately spend hundreds and hundreds of hours to see nothing come from it for a year, 2, if not 3.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think it because you have to allow the tool, which is YouTube, you have to allow that tool to find an audience for you that connects with you. And it's a brilliant way of marketing for those that are open to it, right? We've seen a drastic change. I mean, what was it? Probably about 60 something %. So our team last year, the team itself, not Rebecca's transactions, but the team itself did about 300 transactions, and about 60 something % of that came from YouTube. and the retargeting and the things that we're doing on ad spend and whatever. But it's a slow climb, but it really connects you with the viewer and allows you to build a relationship. It's weird being recognized in the mall. It's weird being recognized going to the airport. But that's part of it, and I think it's wonderful way to do it because it builds an audience for you. It just takes a lot of time and a ton of effort.
Yeah, it's and we're going to put a pin in this because we are going to come back to it.
Sure.
And I almost feel like I'm doing a disservice because we've skipped over everything. We skipped over. We're getting right in. I think there's a wonderful backstory to you and how you kind of got into real estate and how your journey along the way too. And I don't want to push that aside because that's our journey is part of the really fun thing that we get to share over time. And 20 years in a business, you have a lot to share of the ups and the downs and all the in-betweens. But before we do get there, I just wanted to just put a pin in the first part about I'm glad you're feeling better. And it sounds like this accident that you had in Whistler is actually proving to be a little bit of a blessing into some changes on a positive basis going forward too.
Yeah, at some point I'll say that too.
Yeah, well, it's funny. It's like sometimes us humans, sometimes we have to go through the extreme pain of something in order to make a change that we should have made of a change before, right?
Well, and I said to myself a lot, like I have to get so disturbed about something sometimes in order to create the change that is needed. And so and it goes to this dietary thing. Like I would never have made a change like this otherwise, but knowing I'm like, I have to change something so that I can continue going. I'm so disturbed with how I'm feeling that I need to make that change.
Yeah. And that's what I tell people all the time is really to make a change, you either have to have inspiration or desperation. Now, I wish I could say that everybody was
100%.
Inspired to something and they made a change because they were inspired and they had the rocket fuel and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But 9 times out of 10, it's the desperation is the straw that broke the camel's back to lead you to make a change. And then after you find a message in the mess, if you will.
Yeah. And then if you tie that with, are you someone that goes after the exciting thing, or are you running away from pain? It's the pain plunder, right? So then knowing your way of functioning in the world. So do you run towards that pleasure or do you run away from the pain? And so for me, I'll always move towards pleasure. So knowing that of myself, like I want to feel a certain way instead of I don't want to feel this way. And so for me, it's like, I have to move towards something. I can't move away from something. I don't get disturbed enough by moving away from something. So.
Well, it's funny. Were you listening to a conversation my wife and I were just recently having or something? It's like, there's something that I have to do. Yeah, there's something I have to do that's just really, I just don't want to do it. I just really just don't want to do it. Yeah. It's ugly. It's just been a while. I have to enter into a dark cave and to really get it done. Or over here, I wanted to go golfing, right? Let's go golfing. Yeah. Let's go play golf. That's pleasurable. I need help. Yeah. I need this. So
do that.
Exactly.
So. Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm glad you're on the path of recovery, which is really good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right. So backstory here. What was kind of for you the moment when you kind of decided real estate was your gig, and what kind of got into real estate? To maybe give us a little bit of the, we're both old enough to know that the term Coles Notes version of
right.
Way back in the day, right? Nowadays is like these kids, and you talk to them, they have no idea of any of these references. But how did you get started in real estate, Jared?
The new version of Coles Note is a AI tool called Perplexity.
There you go.
Unbelievable. So I'll leave that.
Perplexity. That just does not sound as cool. That just doesn't sound as cool as Coles Notes.
But it's amazing. It sources. Anyway, that's really good. But how we got into real estate. So my wife Rebecca and I were actually working together before. And we're working at a church here in Calgary, and so she started first, we got married, and then she's like, hey, I'm going to go do this. She comes from, in her family, there is some commercial development that has happened from one of her parents. And so kind of familiar to that, but she's much more of a relational person. So commercial is not the right thing to do. It's not about spreadsheets, it's about people. So the commercial is about spreadsheets. Residential is about people. And so a lot of times. And so, and then I basically joined shortly after that, and we kind of been doing it together pretty much ever since we got married. So it's actually our 20th anniversary this year too. So, so we've gone through a lot of things. I mean, we were doing transactions, had assistant, and then turned it into we were starting kids. So we have a 13 and 11-year-old girls now, and just remember saying to her, like, okay, if we're having kids, like, I don't want to just be running on this transaction wheel. I want to try to build something, build a business and figure this out. And, and then now 13 years later, it's like, oh, now people are noticing what we're doing. But it's just been a lot of effort, a lot of push. We have a team now of, including all the different assistants and things that are there. Like, we have a team that's probably about 25 or so people that are on our team, including agents. And we do basically residential real estate in Calgary and area. And it's been a journey, been a wild journey.
Right. So you guys started right into the deep end of sales and transactions as licensed agents. Your wife went first, and then when your future wife went first, and then when you decided that it was safe, Jared kind of tiptoes in as well.
Yeah, essentially, yeah. Well, no, I kind of got thrown into it, but yeah.
And obviously you guys are investors as well. I was trying to remember when we met, and a story came to mind, but my memory, I don't want to embarrass myself that I think I might get the memory. Did we originally meet, or remember the one that stood out for me is, I think it was at an acre program way back in the day. Were you the one that was reaching the hand into the fish bowl of the keys or is that somebody else?
Oh, I don't remember. It could have been. I know, because we were part of RAIN for a number of years.
Yeah.
And that would have been 2005 or 6.
Yeah.
That we would have joined, and we were members for a solid 3-4 years, if not 4 or 5 or more. And then we ended up, doing a couple acre events. I remember coming up to Edmonton. I remember doing it here in Calgary. I remember even going to Vancouver or something for one year. Anyways, but
nice.
Just kind of going through that.
You and Rebecca, you both obviously you own properties as well, I would imagine. What do you guys do on your investment side of things? Like, don't get me wrong, your business that you built is a huge investment, but I call that's the active business. That's the business that you're going to eventually sell down the road, and that's the business that you can potentially leave to other people and stuff like that. The very active business. But on the other hand, you probably have some investment properties at the same time.
Yeah, we had more, but we've actually sold off a bunch over the last little bit. So, so we've had a handful of doors. I mean, we never got into the crazy numbers because we were fairly full in our business. And the irony is when, like, as a real estate agent, when we have cash, more cash, I should say, when the market's busier, that's when the market's going up. And so, we bought a bunch of property in, let's call it 2007 to 9 time frame, Red Deer still in Calgary. And so it's been very interesting because specifically the ones in Red Deer and Sylvan Lake, like we sold a Red Deer one last year, I think it was, and we were still 20 or so thousand less than what we paid. 15, 16 years later, something like that. And we basically walked away with $7,000 or something like extra on top of getting our original money back. And so the whole thing has been purchasing properties the last 15 years have been very odd in Alberta. And I think we were talking about that before, right? It's been a very strange year. I was actually on a Zoom call with, I don't know if you know who Ben Robideau is.
Yeah, no, Ben
saying his name right.
Rabidou.
Rabidou. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, like he was saying something fascinating that for years up until about 2014, Calgary specifically, but including Edmonton, have been trading above the national average. But then since 2014, we even hit as low as 40% below. That can probably go across the province, but 40% below what the national average was, because everything else was taking off, just going. And now we're sitting at like 25% below, and there's like, he's just like, yeah, we're going to come back up, which is a very interesting stat to look at, because now I look at it and go, shoot, we sold early. But there's also something to be said about creating emotional space to be able to grow in another area where, you can grow financially on that area too. And so it's kind of like cleaning house in some ways, to be able to put focus into, what's really going to work for you. So
yeah, well, there's an awful lot you said there for us to unpack, and that could be even another couple more rounds. But that's awesome. That's totally fine. I would 100%. If anybody ever asked me for the quick version of what's happening in Calgary, Edmonton, Alberta, the best analogy I can give, and this is just my own personal opinion, is Calgary's in the fourth inning of a 9-inning baseball game, and Edmonton would be in about the second inning of a 9-inning baseball game at the moment. And everybody who sits there goes, well, Calgary now has gone so fast. And it's only Albertans, because they sit there and they go, well,
it's true.
It's like they had 17 years of nothing, of flatness, and actually in some cases decline. And then all of a sudden a year and a half, 2 years of increase, and they're going, oh, it's over again. The market's gone. It's over. Honest to goodness, guys, bookmark this. This episode will age very well. And in about 7 to 10 years from now, you'll thank me if you actually took some action. So that's number one. Number two,
absolutely.
When somebody hears that story about, we bought a property in Red Deer, Sylvan Lake, and sold it 15, 17 years later and only made $7,000, that is real. Guys, if you buy at a top of a marketplace, now every market is different, every conditions are completely different, but if you buy at a peak of a market, which I've been telling people in Ontario and British Columbia, be wary, you might be at a peak. And I started telling people in 2021, start selling your Ontario and British Columbia properties, because you may, I hope you're not, I really hope you aren't, you might be in a decade of flatness or at best.
It's true. I think I think why that's the case is people are voting with their feet, and they're bringing the BC and Ontario increases to Alberta by them showing up here. People are fed up. With the people we talk to, they are fed up with not being able to just live and affording it, and it is really, really interesting when you end up talking to people and they come and visit, and the first thing that a lot of them say is like, this is nothing like what we thought it was going to be like. And you're like, okay, well, why is that? Like, what is the reason for that? And a lot of people have said, it's not a ghost oil town. It's not full of redneck. It's not like, I could continue going, but all of the things that have been thought about Alberta, it's not that. And for sure there are, but actually what's really funny is then they'll start thinking that Calgary is going to feel similar to where they're from, whether that's GTA, Vancouver area, whatever that is. And they're going to feel like it's this big city. And they're like, okay, I don't want to live in the city. I want to live outside the city. So I'm going to go to Cochrane. Okay, let's go to Cochrane. So Cochrane to them is like a crazy rural little place, but they're thinking it's what Calgary is. So they're actually wanting to move to Calgary or move to Edmonton, and that is their suburb from where they're from. So it's a very interesting thing that's happening, and I think there's going to be a big shift to those that are in these cities in Calgary and Edmonton have been, let's say, born and raised, live here for whatever number of decades, years, own property, they're going to start going, I'm missing that small town feeling, and they're going to start finding new places outside. So they're going to be okay with moving to Medicine Hat, to Lethbridge, to, maybe Leduc's too close, but like the areas around Edmonton. Like, I think that's a shift that's going to happen over the next 5 to 10 years, as people actually start seeing how much equity they have in their property, and that they can do what Ontario did, but now they can go to a smaller town because that's actually what they actually wanted at the beginning.
No, I 100% agree. And then at the same time, and this is more of an Edmonton phenomenon, as well as those that maybe lived in the city, if they were tired of living in when I say a city, it's not really, it's a big city. Don't get me wrong. It's a big city. It's the fifth largest city in the country, but just go to Edmonton. It's not a big city. It doesn't feel big.
No.
But if the ones that want to be left alone, they sit there and they move out to Sherwood Park at 5 acres and, $800,000, and they have a house on 5 acres type of thing. And they just want to be left alone. Right.
Yeah, totally. And they're still like so close really to whatever they need in terms of amenities. Right.
And there's so many, and this is in Edmonton again, there's so many what I call blue jean millionaires out in Edmonton and area, just the people that you just would never, ever think that it's just like, holy moly, like some of these people have some serious backing, if they will. And Calgary is a little bit different, but what's the vibe kind of Calgary of there? Yeah. You started going down that path, but I do want to open up onto a little bit about like what is going on in Calgary. Is there we see all these potential announcements for jobs, we see all these things that are going on. Is Calgary really starting to get its mojo and its swag back again?
I don't know. I had a concussion. I just hide now. So, no, so I think what's really interesting is the tech sector. There's been more and more people that we've been talking to who are getting this tech job. And I personally believe, and in talking to those who know more than I do, on a, let's say, national or North America scale, I've heard from multiple people the same thing, and that is to have kind of a white collar feeling city that is as cheap and as ready for tech type startups. Calgary could be one of the best situated cities in Canada, if not in North America. And I think there's a lot of these companies that are starting to think that way. And again, they're going to start voting with their feet. They're going to start going, wait a minute, that's really cheap to get that space. I'm still connected, international airport, all of these things that are very, very simple and easy, and it can work. Especially those American places coming to Canada, and then the dollar difference, all that too is very, very good too, right? So I don't know. There's a different vibe, and then you mix in the new people, like the people that are cutting me off on the road more. Yeah, I have a new license plate, and I don't know what to do with that. And so it's interesting because there's definitely a different feel. There's definitely a different vibe. The amount of people that the city has added, you can feel it in the roads. You can feel it in different places around the city. But it's exciting because that's bringing different energy and new opportunities, and people who are looking sometimes for kind of new beginnings in some ways. And so I don't know. That's the positive part of me, right? And I think the negative part is the, oh goodness, like the feeling of people who are nervous about stuff, like like prices going up so much. Again, that's from that local mentality, because I'm born and raised in Calgary, and so we've seen that. Like even the first property we bought back in, what was it, 05, 06, something like that. I mean, we paid I did a video on this, and we paid $260 or something like that, $230 for this house in Northwest Calgary, and now it's probably worth $6. Like it's crazy to think about that. And then you think about where our kids are at, how are they going to afford? And these are all now the feelings that Ontario and BC have had for the last 15 years. And now it's starting to kind of come out here a little bit too. And so I think there's a lot of mixed emotions when it comes to what's happening specifically in Calgary. That's where we are. But
yeah, I had a little smirk as you were talking about some of those numbers. Well, and the reason my smirk was you're talking about a single family home on a piece of land, on a piece of dirt, and it's 600 and change, give or take, even though it was two and change. I on my walk this morning, I walked by townhouses that were starting in the $800,000. Yeah. So it's like, that's why I had a little smirk a little bit about that.
But the interesting part of because I think, are you in Vancouver area?
Vancouver, a suburb of Vancouver, Coquitlam. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what's interesting about that is a lot of those areas don't have the same available land to go out. And that's very similar with GTA, with the green belt and everything that's out there. And so that's where I don't know what truly will happen and I can't fully guess it, because we still have that opportunity to go out in the city. But the city side of Calgary itself, I mean, it's the same size as like Manhattan or something like that. And so it's a large landmass of a city. So it's interesting with the city trying to propose, I think they call it the Home is Here initiative, with the same zoning type change that they made in Edmonton. And is that truly going to add more density to certain areas, or is it just another thing that government are trying to push through to say we're doing something about it? I don't know.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's one of those things that Calgary doesn't have to go up in terms of getting more density. We can still go out, and so can Edmonton. And I think that's kind of the difference between what happened in those Vancouver GTA areas versus what could happen here, right?
No, I 100% agree. And being somebody from outside of these areas looking in, that was one of the, and I now know that 25 years later, one of the biggest challenges has been urban sprawl. It truly has. It's like, and I'm just going to speak to Edmonton again. Calgary is the exact same way in many respects. It literally is, we want to grow. Oh, there's a canola field over there. Let's just bulldoze it down. All of a sudden, look, Silver Springs Plus, brand new community just jumped up in here. It's like, the urban sprawl is crazy. Now, you might know what's happening in Calgary, but I just know in Edmonton, what they decided to do a little while ago is they put a plan out, and they call it 1 million more. They are on record that they're showing that they're going to add another 1 million people to Edmonton in the next less than 20 years. And they've put their plan in place of what they're doing. And they recognize they can't keep going with the urban sprawl because it costs them more money to put more roads, more sewers, the garbage trucks, everything has to go further. So what they've done is they've now are starting to grow in, they're densifying, and they're growing upwards, meaning they're adding, like in Edmonton, if we go in with a development project on an infill, honest to goodness, in some cases, it's rubber stamped. If you, our builder, the fastest one they ever told us they got approval for, and almost to the stage of permitting to go demo and start digging holes and stuff like that, was 10 days from start to finish of an application.
Holy.
Yeah. So like if they're very proactive, and I know this is just an Edmonton thing, but I think a lot of other cities are looking to Edmonton to hit the copy and paste, is if you follow their guidelines, if you follow what you're going to do, and they tell you what the rules of engagement, and if you bring a project in that fits with the rules of engagement, they go, well, why should we put this to a vote, and why should we put this out to public tender, and why should we put all this stuff? Well, giddy up, let's go. Right?
Yeah.
Well, but think about it, Jared. I don't want to step over there. I just want to finish this. Think about for a second, for a city also, like let's say there was one house on a large lot, tiny little house, wartime house. Calgary has lots of those as well. It's probably generating a certain amount of tax revenue. Okay. A developer comes in, builds on it, and when he's done, he has now 6 houses or 6 rental units and stuff like that. The tax rate probably tripled on that same piece of land. The city literally had nothing of an investment into it, and they probably tripled their tax base on that just as it stands.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely the increase that the city would have to have in terms of, let's say, waste management or things that they would have to pay afterwards. But the upfront, it's nothing on the city side. And I think part of that is getting the approvals. Like what's interesting right now is this whole Home is Here initiative and basically changing the R1 zoning to an RCG zoning in Calgary. So then it's changing that there's really no such thing as R1 anymore. And that's what they're trying to push through. And I think that's similar to what they did in Edmonton. And that's what you're talking about, correct?
Yeah, in many respects, yes.
Yeah.
But even things there was a year ago that you could do, now you can do it again. Like, where was the last change they just had is stuff that we were building a year ago. Now they actually said you can now go 3 stories high. So you can actually put another level onto your property and go from a 6 unit to an 8 unit on a mid-block lot type of thing.
Really? That's interesting. I haven't watched it very closely, but
so you could and this is just still new, and we're just having our last design because I want to put one of these in the ground in the next little while. Is you can have lower suites, you can have at grade suites, and then you can have a 2-story above that, a 4-bedroom 2-story above that, and you can have 2 garage suites on one lot.
And that would be like a 50 by 100?
A 50 by 150, give or take. It could be a 50 by 148 and change. But
still.
2 years ago, you could only put maximum on there. 2 years ago, the max you could put on there was 4.
Yeah.
A year and a half ago, the max you put on there was 6. And then with the latest change, you can actually put 8 units on there. Now, don't get me wrong. It's an entire art and a science. Just because you can put 8 units on a lot doesn't mean you should, right? Because
and I think that's a good point, because that's a big fear that a lot of people have is people, developers, owners of land are just going to do it because they can instead of because they should. And I think that's where sometimes you hope that the city has the foreknowledge to be able to say, hey, this is a great idea, and I know it fits in our rules, but that's like, who is the one that's saying yes or no? And I think that's kind of a fear of people who live in those areas of what's going to happen to my community, right? Yeah. And I understand it and I get it, but it's out there.
No, I 100%, as a real estate investor, I want to put on potentially as much density and much cash flow and revenue as I can. But sometimes you have to just take a step back. And the step back we always take before we really do any design is we always start with the tenant experience, the person that's going to live there. Yeah. If you're going to have just a revolving door and tenants don't want to live there and you're going to just have a vacancy nightmare, why would you want to do that? So we actually scale back. We build a little bigger units. We actually build a few less suites. And then the one thing we make, even though there's no requirement for the amount of parking spots you have, we actually over parking things. For example, we'll take our 2 doubles, make them into 4 singles. We'll move the garages closer to the house off the rear lane so they have a driveway to park on. Plus also if we can get corner lots, on some of our 6 builds, we have 10, 12 parking spots for people.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Right. So,
because then it actually helps the longevity of that property and keeps people happy and keeps the neighbors happy. That's the other part. Not just the tenant, it's also the person that's living beside that.
Yep. It all starts from the customer. And that's what I'm just saying. And I don't want to, my main intention to have this conversation with you today is I want to find out what's going on in Calgary. Like, what is there? Is there an appetite for that kind of density? Are they just slowly just kind of looking, well, what's everybody else doing? Or are they being progressive? What's going on in Calgary?
Yeah, I think the thing there's still a lot of ambiguity in terms of what the city is going to do. Because they came out at the beginning of this year with the Home is Here initiative and talking about all this density and changing the single family zoning, but nothing has really happened or come from it. And so there's a progress we're kind of still waiting. And I think my assumption, and I'm hoping that city council, whoever's involved with it, is kind of looking at, what what could we do? How can we make this work? Alberta, Calgary, Edmonton, they're hot topics across the country now. And we were nobody 3 years ago. And it feels dirty. Like people are now looking at us and you're like, we've been here the whole time. What's your problem? And so now kind of this hot topic of I remember 2 years ago, this is a little side thing, but I remember a couple of years ago when people were starting to really reach out to us and they're moving here, they would forward me emails, and it was investors and agents from, say, Toronto, Vancouver, who were just selling the crap out of like certain communities. And it was just like, where is this coming from? And it just felt really weird having that focus. And I wonder, to go back to the what is happening with like the development and that kind of thing, I wonder if there's a little bit of overwhelmed feelings that certain city council, whatever, are feeling, and they're going, okay, we got to make the right decision. And I'm hoping that that's what they're going through, because I think Calgary and Edmonton have a huge future, and this is not just a little blip on the market, and this is not a little blip of what could be, but they've made changes to be able to have that similar RCG type zoning on corner lots where you could all of a sudden get a single house and do 4 up and sometimes even basement suites, right? So there has been those initiatives in the last year or two, but I think they're trying to double down on that. Even in a RC right beside a full duplex that we own, we sold that a couple of years ago, but the individual bought it, ended up putting 6 units, but they were kind of front and back townhouses that were detached, and then garages behind that, almost with like a open way in the middle. And I mean, there's some really unique and great designs that are coming out of this that we've never seen in Calgary before. And so I think the more we have people who are moving here looking for affordable options, that's going to allow them to be more open to what is out there too.
Yeah. And there's some really cool, sorry, you're just chopping up there a little bit, Jared, but there's some really cool people doing some really cool designs. There's a guy in Calgary, and I always have to look up his name because I'll butcher it. I think he goes by Al. It's Al Karim Devani. I follow him on Twitter, and he does some really cool small infill development kind of things out in Calgary as well. And it's good. No, don't get me wrong. I don't envy some of these city planners. Like, it is an endless. It would be a very difficult thing to do, is to manage growth, manage your resources, manage these kind of things. Plus, also at the same time, the pressure to build, the pressure to all this kind of stuff too. It's like, on one hand, you're a victim of too much growth and too much success. On the other side, you could potentially be a victim of too little growth, and it's a fine line and a balancing point.
Absolutely. And you don't know when truly what is going to happen, right? Because right now in the market, it feels like less people are coming here compared to what it was before, but doesn't mean it's done. It's just this weird ebb and flow of the market, is because now I think what's really happening is Calgary and Edmonton are now a part of the national real estate scene when they weren't before. It was always a Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, and that's what you would think is, and it always skipped over these 2 provinces. And now they are on the map compared to those things. And that's also a kind of a strange thing.
Well, and in some cases, I'm a little torn, and I'm a little torn by shouting from the rooftop about what's happening in Alberta.
I know.
I almost want to sit there and go, geez, let's keep that close to my chest, because I have 7 more years that I really want to I want to fill the net with as much property as I can in the next 7 to 10 years. And I don't want to shout it from the rooftop too much, because once it starts getting out there, it's just like, sometimes something that goes too quickly and outstrips its fundamentals is not good too. Henceforth, a lot of different markets. And truly, Alberta was a little bit of a dirty word there for a little while. And even to this day, we even have, our current prime minister sneaking into town and not trying to meet with the local government, but going on radios and all this kind of stuff like that. It's just like,
Yeah.
It's an interesting dynamic.
Okay.
The prairies, hate to say this, guys, if you're listening from outside of the prairies and stuff like that, I think it's the prairies' time to shine for the next decade, and maybe a little bit into BC as well. But I think the West is now going to start carrying the torch for Canada for the little while.
Yeah, and I think what's also interesting is the city, specifically Calgary. Can't speak to Edmonton, but Calgary doesn't feel like it still is a massive oil and gas city, but it doesn't feel like that is the only driver. There are other things that are up and coming. And that is a great feeling because you have local people here forever and ever. That's why they feel like this is going to end at some point, because it always has. It feels like.
Yeah.
So could this be different? Well, everyone says this time's different. This will be different this time. We'll be okay. But that doesn't necessarily mean it will be or it won't be. But it for me, it feels very different than anything we've seen over the last 20 years.
Yeah, and you've been born and raised. You're all, you're only, like 30 and a half years old here. So it's like...
yeah, I wish. Yeah. Remember old dance dad part? Remember that?
Sorry, I'm just sitting there, us old bald guys sitting on a call here today. Is we have to get all the makeup and the matte finish on there.
That's right. I got all mine right there.
Good. Yeah, me too. It's blotting with those little oil things and stuff. So it's the tricks of the trades.
If you have a spot, don't worry.
Yes,
I got you.
Good. So Calgary market per se, what is kind of going on? Supply, demand, market, pricing, stuff like that. Just kind of if you were just shooting a little quick video, which you do a fantastic job of shooting your market update videos. If you're just kind of giving us a kind of a really top line summary of what's going on in Calgary, what would you say is happening real estate wise in Calgary?
I mean, I won't just do one sentence, but one sentence. No supply, lots of demand. We'll see you next week.
Oh, Jared, you just...
it is a...
Jared, you just were... Can you redo that again?
Yeah. So what I would say is like a one sentence recap is like zero supply, lots of demand, and we'll see you next week. Like it is a very... that is the market. So like the other day, what did Rebecca say? She was looking up something and she said there was under 800 single family homes for sale right now. We are like record low of current inventory, and the demand, actually the video is coming out this weekend. So in 2 days, so I don't know when you're shooting this, but it's coming out on February 25th. I'm calling it slimy realtor tactics, but that's a good hook. It's not necessarily what's happening. And it's kind of the Toronto, Vancouver feel where people are under listing properties by sometimes $100,000 or more just to get a ton of offers, but then they're not actually selling for that much more than market value. And it's very confusing for the consumers because they're hoping, like, whether this is real or not, I do believe consumers look at real estate agents and they trust what is being marketed as the value. And when agents are underlisting things that much just to get attention, it kind of can feel like a slimy tactic where the buyer is getting used, where there's just zero chance of ever getting that property because sure, they listed it for $650, but it's actually worth $800. And it's just, so that stuff is happening. You don't really need to do that much in this market because again, there's such little supply. And the demand is really, really strong. There's a lot of people, the amount of rentals that are being built in Calgary compared to detached and multifamily. Like if you look at the charts, like it's just through the roof from any time frame that I'm seeing going backwards. And so, which is a great thing. And this is one of the things we learned back in the day. But like people move to cities, typically they would rent first and then they'd say, I like it here. And then they would buy something, right? But what has happened is there's such fear of missing out on an opportunity because they're from these other cities where they've already saw what happened they've come in and they're buying places sight unseen or very short timeframes and are willing to go completely unconditional. And then local people are like, I just want to like have my financing inspection. I just want to have like an inspection condition, right? Like I just want to have something that I can do for 2 days after this offer, but they're getting outbid. Even properties, like there's been a handful of them this last couple of weeks where on our team where it's sold for not the highest price, but it's sold because it was unconditional. And so one of the sellers recently walked away from an extra $20,000 or $30,000 because it would just be done that night instead of waiting for 4 days for a financing condition when that buyer is completely pre-approved and it would have been fine. So it's just a very different market, and I think consumers are just trying to figure out how to jive with that because we haven't been used to a market like that, but people coming here are very used to it. And so it's making kind of a confusion for those that are from here. And so that's I don't know, I'm going to help, but that's kind of the feel. And I've heard through friends that do real estate in Edmonton that they're starting to hear the story that we were feeling about a year or two ago in terms of multiple offers and things that are happening. And just, that place went 25,000 over list. Well, I mean, I'm literally doing stuff where it's like that one went 40, that one went 80 over list. And it's going for unconditional a lot of times too.
Yeah. And I 100% agree with everything you said. So I'm just going to bookend this just to recap kind of, because I'm slow in the uptake. I'm from Saskatchewan.
Okay.
I do have my grade 12. I took grade 6 twice. So yes. So hang on.
Nice. It's like a grade 13 then.
Okay. Yeah. Right. So, okay. So it's really a case in Calgary is strong demand, and mainly because of what you say. It's probably a little bit of speculative, but mostly it's just people that need a place to live because there's been such an influx of a population. Do you know offhand how many people moved into Calgary in the last year?
Ooh, my gut says 140 to 160.
Okay, yeah,
in the last year or two.
We'll go with that, give or take.
Yeah, that's my gut.
And so very strong demand. Supply has not kept up. And it's funny, you can actually tell supply hasn't kept up because you could go back 2 years ago and just take a look at housing starts. And my business partner and I in Edmonton, we forecasted that. We told them that there's going to be a new home shortage of properties. And we predicted this 2 years ago. I can probably cut back to the exact video because people weren't bringing on serviced land. People weren't putting contracts in place to build. So now they're having a little bit of a shortfall of new houses, which then impacts and ripples out into everything else. It's not even a little bit. Like the last number that I saw, I don't know if it was Calgary or Alberta altogether, but there are 16 individuals moving to Calgary or Alberta, I can't remember which one, for every home that's being built. Wow. That just gives me, that gives me a little bit of holy moly.
What do you do as someone who is trying to, like, that only pushes up value?
Yeah.
And that's all. I don't even know what to say.
the one thing, a little saving grace here is fall. Like there's going to be a blip and it's going to run up. This 2024 at the end of the year, this year is going to be, people are going to look back and go, holy macaroni. It could be double digits in growth, in price growth. It could be.
Oh, for sure. Sure. Yeah.
Here's a little saving grace, a little bit and especially in Alberta is because Alberta is open for business to build something, to turn the tap on is one of the most, you can have velocity to turn the tap on and build houses quicker than in Alberta than most jurisdictions across the country. So that may be a pain for a year, 18 months, maybe 2, but I have a feeling that pain will subside in the medium term.
Yeah.
So if we were having a coffee here, Jared, and by and large, the majority of my audience, you deal with homeowners, you deal with investors, you deal with everybody buying and selling. But by and large, the majority of my audience are real estate investors. And if you're sitting there with a young buck just getting into real estate and wanting to buy into Calgary. What advice would you give me, and what is kind of the strategy and the tactic to take advantage of the Calgary marketplace right now? Like, what advice would you give me?
Just cut out again.
Oh, you just cut out. Try again.
Okay, yeah. My advice would be to buy soon. Like, there's, you only know what really happens when you look backwards, because you can't ever really truly forecast. But sorry, am I bad connection here?
No, you're there again.
Okay, sorry. It just shows a red bar. So
it's choppy. Sure. It's choppy, but
this is so fun. New office. Okay, so my advice would be to buy quickly, because I don't want to create fear of missing out or any of those feelings, but you also want to make good decisions and make wise decisions. Don't just buy anything just because the tide is coming in, and yes, that will raise all boats. Doesn't mean every boat is what you should be in, and so buying condos, I don't know. I don't truly know where that's going to go. That market is very different in Calgary. It's not the same as it is in other major cities. My personal bread and butter, if I was going to be buying something, it would be try to find kind of inner city fourplexes that you have a decent amount of land, you can subdivide, you develop in the future, you have multiple streams. Sometimes you can suite basements if it's just a duplex, do illegal suites. Like, I would just find multiple, it's the basic, find multiple streams on a single property that mitigate your down month if you have vacancies, but you have future potential to do other things with in the future, right? And so that's what I would do. That would be my advice. And if you are a single person, young person, even a couple, and you're willing to purchase something like that, live in one of the units and rent the other 2 or 3 out. And kind of, I don't want to say play the game, but you can definitely play the game that way.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Here's what I say: a couple things. I'm always leery. Now, this is no slight against Toronto realtors here in a second, but I'm always leery when I see a Toronto realtor come into another city and trying to sell pre-sale condos they sold Toronto pre-sale condos for the last 15 years. And I know some people that are just choking on pre-sale Toronto condos. So just be mindful of that. Calgary is a little bit different. It isn't the skyscraper.
It's not the same.
No. And then
we've actually had agents from these other major cities. We used to be our own brokerage, and so now we're part of Real Brokers. We're a team in there now, but I, over the last 2-3 years, have had agents who say, "Hey, I'm going to live in Toronto. I just want to join your brokerage so I can have my license. Can I do that?" And we're like, "No, we're not playing this game." And there's a lot of people who are just chasing the money and trying to just sell whatever they can, because that to me is the speculative side of things. And I don't know if that feels like that part of our market has softened a little bit, where the speculative person, or those that are reaching out to us anyways, are very much more people who are, I'm moving my family. We are looking for affordability. And I feel like that is really what is happening and what will continue to happen for the next couple of years, as the nation figures itself out with all the prices around the country. But it feels like that speculative side where those types of agents are, I haven't seen it as much, and I don't feel it as much. So, and
then I also give I love the advice that you were giving, but here's the advice I give to somebody coming into Calgary a little bit, especially if they're moving or live in Calgary. Like, Calgary is a fantastic place to move to literally just live, and your house is going to go up in value, and you're going to make a lot of money by just buying low and living in a house. Like, you'll do very well with that.
Sure.
And one of my clients just come to mind as one of the things that they did, which is brilliant, is they bought a house a couple of years ago, had room in the basement. They put a secondary suite into their basement. And then over the past year, they put a deposit on a new build. They are now moving out into this new build. They're putting a new suite into the new build. They now rent out an up-down house on there, and they're going to put a suite in. So now they have 3 rental units. And in 6 months, they're going to potentially put another deposit on a new build house. And they're potentially in a year's time going to move to another new build, and they'll have like 5 rental units. And all they did was they just, over 3 principal residence relocations, will have a house and 5 rental units.
Right. Yeah. And there's definitely strategies to do that. And I think the thing with that is we live quite conservatively. So I don't like over leveraging. And I think that comes to in terms of just trying to be smart and play the long-term game versus going to the max every time. And that's something we've seen some family members do growing up. And it's just like, we can't do that. Like, we want a better life than that. And so it is kind of interesting, and being careful of, just because, again, you can doesn't mean you should. And it's knowing those numbers, and it's not going to go up forever. It's not. There is going to be moments. There's going to be times where it's going to be flat again. But knowing that you've thought of that, and you've basically prepared yourself for that, because you don't want to get into a situation where it's like, holy mother, how did I even get here? What ladder am I putting my up to climb at the top of the building, right? So it's to be careful.
I totally hear you. And here's Jared. I've been just sleeping at the switch here, my friend. You've just been bringing the fire here today. It's like bringing the fire, and then when obviously fire happens, bombs get dropped. So I've been just so much enjoying our conversation here. And we're definitely going to pivot things here into a little bit of kind of for you business wise, things like that. Just a quick thing for you, and I pulled up onto you've got a fantastic website, by the way. I was when I was creeping you out and searching on things here, you got the little talk chat button on the thing here too. Is if someone wanted to get a hold of you, where's the best place to get a hold of you, my friend?
Yeah, just chamberlaingroup.ca, our website. You can do the contact form. That's great. We're Chamberlain Group on Instagram, on YouTube. We have a pretty good YouTube following, so you can kind of see what we're all about there. And those are just Chamberlain Group wherever. We're not the garage door company, but we do real estate. So. and I was going to ask you, I'm pretty sure you were wearing one of those helmets when you did have your accident in Whistler. Oh man, dude, I had a full face.
Oh wow,
helmet, and still got scratched up underneath. So yeah,
wow. So pivoting over to your YouTube channel, now you do a fantastic job. You're
thank you.
Obviously, you want to have hundreds and hundreds, and you want to have that silver plaque and stuff like that. But at the same time, you know who your audience is. You provide amazing content and information. I would highly encourage everybody to check out Jared. If you're interested in Calgary information, Jared is one of the go-to place to get market updates on what's going on out in the marketplace. And I'm jealous here, brother. It's like, one of my best videos I put out is Calgary versus Edmonton on investment.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here going, it's been 2 years since I put that out. And I'm due for an update on that. And if I'm sitting there going, if I'm truly honest with myself, it was maybe the wrong call 2 years ago. Like, I should have truly invested into Calgary 2 years ago, because I would have done better over the 2-year basis, right?
But I think just the 2 years. I think moving forward, I think there's going to be something different.
Don't get me wrong. My recommendation when I do the update, I'll give you the spoilers, is going to be the same thing as to invest in Edmonton. But to be honest, over the last 2 years, Calgary did outperform Edmonton significantly. It was the island in the storm of all of Canada in the last 2 years.
I know.
Calgary was the superstar, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me go back here. Where I was getting to is how much time and effort do you put into your YouTube channel? Do you do weekly videos? Do you have a process of scripting things out? I'm curious to find out what you do for your YouTube.
Yeah. A lot. I do a lot. It is like I'm naturally an introverted person, and I want to find ways that I can use my giftings to reach multiple people versus calling one person. And so I have to start with that because I had to find my way of doing it because there's so many ways that you can build a business. There's so many ways you can do marketing, but that is my way, and that is what I enjoy doing. And so, goodness, I would say, like, yeah, we definitely follow a system. I mean, I could show you screens upon screens of notes and research, and that's where the AI complexity comes in. It is, but it's a lot of research. I spend sometimes, depending on the video, sometimes 8 to 10 hours prepping for the video in terms of research and looking up things and talking to people and getting information. And then easily on shoot days, I mean, we've got it down to a system where sometimes I can shoot something in half an hour, and sometimes it can take hours or a full day, depending on what the topic is and where we're going in the city. So we try to do a mix of in studio, out of studio. So this is our new office here. And so we're actually, it's an infill in Northwest. And so the basement's unfinished. It's a commercially zoned property. So we're actually going to develop the basement and build a studio that the whole basement is, but it's also our team meeting space. So if you're hearing hammers in the background, because there is some noises going on as I'm doing this, but we're going to be doing that. And I'm excited because now I can get back like interviewing people in person. So we'll be able to do that here. We'll be able to continue to be shooting out in the communities, talking about top neighborhoods, talking about markets, talking about whatever. But it's a process that you have to fall in love with. And I love YouTube. I love the process of being creative and being able to educate and go that way. So yeah, I'm an open book.
Well, I think, in the of time interest here, like, honest to goodness, this could be in another entire hour and 20-minute conversation. It's just about that.
Sure. Oh yeah.
But
I mean, all the lenses that are kind of thing right here, like so many things we could go down.
Oh, it's like every time you have a delivery, you're on a first name basis down at both Long and McQuaid and also all the McBain cameras and all those places. Stores, They all know your first name, or even just the Amazon delivery truck that just shows up on a daily basis. And your wife goes, "You need another camera? Like, come on."
Yeah. I know. I've spent a little bit too much, but it's all there.
But then the question I was really trying to get to, and we'll make a point of coming back to this in another time. Is it all worth it? Is it really all worth it?
After all the effort for us, it has drastically changed our business, and it's changed our future. It's changed it's changed the outlook of what we can do, how we can impact our agents. My main purpose of doing this is not to be seen and to be known. I like it when people recognize me, but I don't love it. Like, I like my bubble. I like my space. I like my time. But what that says to me is that it's working and that people are watching and they're recognizing it. And it allows me to provide incredible opportunities for my team, who we trust forever with working with clients and whatnot. So that to me is the big payoff.
Yeah. So it's hugely worth it. But like anything in life, you have to love it. And you have to work.
Fall in love, yeah.
You have to really.
We're shooting weekly.
Yeah. Everybody, let's put it this way. Everybody sits there and they go, I might use a reference of a name you may or may not know, but everybody sits there, I want to be like a Peter McKinnon and put out one video and have 6 million views and stuff like that. Yeah, but you don't see the behind the scenes of how many years and years of perfecting the craft it's taken to get to that point. I tell
years and years Oh, sorry, I was going to say, and years of being willing to be wrong and allowing yourself to not be stuck in one way of doing something and correcting. Find something, adjust, find something, adjust, find something and adjust. And YouTube is a skill. You can't just like, hey, everybody, we're here today, and it'll just work. Like you have to create the hook. You got to go deeper. You got to have like all of these things that allow a viewer to be drawn in and build a relationship with that creator.
Yeah, and
the videos, right?
Most people, anybody can. Just don't get me wrong. We have these technologies, these things in our pockets of a camera that would pale. From 7 years ago, this is a better video camera than what the best cameras were out 5-7 years ago, and it's in our pocket. So it is. Everybody can do it. Not everybody should, again, but also at the same time it's also very difficult to get really good at it because you have to embrace being really bad at the beginning, and most people can't. Most people can't do that, and I wrestle with it all the time of doing that. But then I keep coming back to, for myself, number one is it's good for business. It really is good for business. But on the other hand, this is what I keep resonating for myself. I've been blessed for 25 years of learning some amazing lessons from amazing people. And I'm standing on these amazing shoulders of giants that I can see far. And it would be a disservice to the next generation of real estate investors if I don't share what I know to help inspire another generation of people going forward. Now, I know this sounds way grandiose and kumbaya, bang a drum and all that kind of stuff, but it what helps it resonates with me to help pay forward to what I've learned to other people.
Yeah. And it's also a great exercise to hone your thoughts on what you actually think too, right? Because you get to go deep and have a lot of time thinking through things. And most business owners don't take time to think. And this actually, never thought of this, but this is a way to think about your thinking, and then how do you want to present that in a way that is going to actually help somebody, right?
Yeah, and you also know when you're full of the same time too, right?
That's totally yeah. So true.
Well, awesome. Well, I appreciate your time here, Jared. I do have a question. I do have a question that I like to leave off with everybody on my show here is, and it's kind of, I call it's kind of the get unstuck question. So the simple concept, premise of the question is, you and I are sitting down and over a nice cup of coffee, and we're sitting and we're watching all the people down on, I may get my term wrong, down Stephen Avenue, walking back and forth and stuff like that. And and I'm having a conversation with you, and I'm asking you a question. Is, Jared, I'm just been feeling a little stuck about moving forward with this gig of real estate. What advice would you give me? What advice would you give me to help me get unstuck?
Ooh. Two things. You are stronger than you know, and you've already gone through life lessons. You've already gone through hard things. And what you need to do is take those lessons and take the energy and the positive things from going through other experiences and create confidence in yourself to be able to say, I can do this. Because sometimes having the skill of or the ability to figure things out in the moment can feel very overwhelming. But my daughter wrote, I don't have them up here because we moved offices. My daughter wrote on a piece of paper once, like, sometimes you can have a lot of speed bumps, but just go over them slowly. And I was like, whoa, where did this kid come from? Well, she's listening to her mom and dad, I guess. But I think it's, you can do it if you really want to, but don't think it's just going to happen overnight, because it's a persistent effort that is so consistent that will reap rewards in the future.
Wow. And sometimes out of the mouths of babies, that comes the most profound things as well. Well done.
That's so true.
Here's the thing. surprised but not surprised, coming from who I know you and your wife are as people and how you show up. And I just wanted to acknowledge everything you have gone through and everything you are going through. And I want to acknowledge that you have a lot more to give. You're just rounding first base, my friend, in this game of where you're going to. You have a tremendous amount of upside still to be explored, by the way. Final word to you, my friend.
I thank you for this time. I appreciate the kind words. I think for those that are watching and are looking at, investing in real estate, I mean, real estate is a powerful tool to create wealth, but also to create connections and relationships too, right? There's great people in this industry, and Calgary is a great place to invest. And according to Russell, it won't be anymore. So go buy an Edmonton.
So do we have to buy a cowboy hat and cowboy boots and go yee-haw when we come to Calgary?
Yes, and a lifted truck.
Good. Yes. nothing smaller than a F-350, correct?
Please.
Yes.
Yeah, our roads don't fit anything other than that.
Oh, right on. Well, thank you for your time here, Jared. And gang, you know what to do if you are watching this. Please reach out to Jared, reach out to his team if you are looking to get into the Calgary market. They're experts at what they do. They know the market inside out. And as you heard here, they'll steer you in the right direction, pun intended, in Calgary, if you will. So,
yeah, only in a truck.
That's right. All right, gang. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Well, looky here. You made it right to the very end. So I think you should be rewarded. Here's your reward for you. Number one, before you get the next video to watch, hit the button below to subscribe. And there's a hand-selected playlist and a hand-selected video here for you to continue your journey forward. Let's continue this momentum. Let's go.